My name is Lakshmi Ajay. I'm an associate editor with Stat Media. And today I'm in conversation with Tom Helyar. He's a chief strategy officer at Magma Aviation. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
I wanted to start off by asking you about your own journey into aviation and when did you join this company? And what are your goals for this company in your current role?
So I got into aviation probably quite naturally in the fact that my mother's side of the family were all there. Engineering, commercial roles, cabin crew, ground crew, and I was always going to get there at some point. I wasn't actually looking for my job that I first started with Magma at the time, but this opportunity came up, and 12 years later, what can I say? The company's going through a real kind of positive change at the moment. We've grown from, I was employee number 7, and we've grown all the way up to 50 employees now. We're predicted to be at 70 by the end of this year. So stability, continued growth, and just kind of keeping our agility as much as possible would be our biggest focus.
Yeah. Being positive is a good thing, but in this environment, we are going, air cargo is going through a tough patch. There is muted consumer demand, there are geopolitical pressures, there's inflationary pressures. So what would you say is the outlook for this year going forward after an extraordinary 2 years for the air cargo industry, where I think it came somehow in the spotlight?
It's certainly going to be challenging. Well, I think everyone's seeing that already. The turn of the belly demand coming back earlier than we expected has had an effect. A bit like when oil hit $150 a barrel 2009. Don't quote me on that particular date, I might be wrong. We have to return to the new normal, and that's the bit we've got to get to. So it will just be finding balance, everyone getting that balance together, and then we move forward from there. So it's definitely going to be challenging, but it just depends on how you deal with that. We've still got strong support from our customers. We're still seeing demand, but the competition's there. Just have to wait and see.
What can you tell us about the current fleet that you operate? And if there are any additions and how they serve your client? I understand that charter, perishable, outsized, and automotive. Do these categories continue to remain important to your company? And are you adding to any of these verticals?
Only a 747 operator at the moment. We have 2 operator partners, but we're always looking to expand. I won't disclose too much, but there are ongoing talks with people, which is a positive. We will also, along kind of the sustainability lines, look to modernise the fleet over time. Magma are part of the Avia Solutions Group, and their buying power and strength brings us new opportunity, which is good. Also, we've developed our team as well, bringing new opportunities, which is great. Verticals-wise, we're not specialists in any of them at the moment. We have a lot of experience in perishable and the automotive, but none of them are kind of published products for us at this moment. But I also watch this space because it's something that we are looking at. The rest of it is, we're an agile company, and it's one of our core business strengths, and that's where we look to be a solutions provider and effectively go with what our customers want. We're very customer-centric.
So far as the pandemic widened the scope of your operations, and what were some lessons learned during the pandemic that the company has been applying going forward?
So we certainly became more global in terms of our positioning. When we first started at Magma, we were flying pretty much everywhere, not so much in the US. The US kind of came about 5 or 6 years ago for us, but then we didn't really concentrate ourselves in the Far East. We've now moved back to the Far East a little bit more, serving Hong Kong, Singapore, places like that. We're looking at China, but again, we're part of a much bigger group who have lots of opportunities everywhere. Learning points for us from the pandemic: don't overpromise. We saw a lot of people overpromise, and we focused a lot on keeping our customers happy, and we've been very lucky because of that.
Well, what are some of your bigger customers?
We work with all of the blue chip forwarders, TSVs of this world, Kuehne+Nagel, Schenker, Maersk, people like that. To be honest, we serve everyone that wants to be a customer for us, whether it's a supranational NGO, whether it's a freight forwarder, Tom, Dick or Harry, as we say in the UK, wanting to ship personal effects to their family and, wherever. Everyone and anyone.
Right. So Africa is a big component of your operations, right? It has caught the imagination of the world by the continent taking some, positive step towards moving towards economic stability and prosperity with initiatives like the Open Skies and the African Continent Free Trade Area. It's e-commerce. What would you say drives the air cargo industry in Africa now, and what needs to change or improve?
A very good question. The drivers, a bit like everything else, are certainly, I think that it's a global trend. It's not specifically just to Africa, in my opinion. Where is the cheapest labour for big manufacturing? Where is the space and demand for cars? For example, South Africa being a big manufacturer of cars for major, it's all led by, consumer trends. That's one thing with air freight. If you look at global GDP, it follows it very closely. I personally think so anyway. There'll be people that challenge that. Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa are probably the leading ones, and then Egypt as well.
Right. And what are the verticals that you see?
Perishables, obviously oil and gas, where the oil price is right, and then probably car park.
Right. Post-pandemic, we've seen a situation, where everybody is ordering a fleet, a situation in the market, or are we already seeing the overcapacity shrink in the margins of revenue for the air cargo industry? With a muted economic climate and demand and challenging conditions prevailing in many parts of the world, what would you say will drive the next round of growth for the industry?
Unfortunately, another challenge. Hopefully not a pandemic because of the impact it had on us all.
But a disruption.
A disruption is unfortunately always good. As much as, people will end up affected by it, it's always good for our industry. It will be interesting to see how many of the very large shipping lines stay true to their word in terms of their plan.
Of entering into the air cargo.
Entering into the air cargo industry, they've been purchasing 777 freighters. That will be interesting. I don't tend to focus on e-commerce because that's the era that we live in now. Yeah. It's not going to change. You and I are talking, technology is all around us, right? That will be there forever. People want more convenient, but then you see Amazon, for example, are already scaling back their own flight operation. Yeah. So at some point there will be symbiosis in the air freight industry. It's just when will that come and how long will it last? And everything will tick. Sorry, I'm not really answering the question directly.
Can you briefly talk about how digitalization and sustainability are part of your operations at your main company? Because these are the two mega trends that we saw post the pandemic.
Absolutely.
And it was a much needed thing as well for the aircraft brands.
To be honest, we were a little bit slow on the digitization. However, 21, we employed the services of an ex-employee of one of the major Middle East carriers to work for us as a consultant. We are actually moving into phase 2 of our own digitalization program. It's gone very well. It's actually been super beneficial for us as a company because it's really brought all of the different departments together to feed their knowledge. We've actually learned some things and knowledge that we didn't know we had in the company because people never kind of openly spoken about it. Sustainability wise, I'll get back to you on that. I would love to answer, but I watch it very closely.
But you've been a decade in this industry. How do you build these trends for the air cargo industry and the challenges that you have?
Digitalization will continue forever. Sustainability is going to be a huge challenge. And that's my reason for not answering now is because I don't think we can give a good answer right now. I can tell you what everyone else has said. I don't believe in it. And I'm not saying some of it's not true, but the numbers don't match up for SAF production versus SAF demand, for example. Is carbon offsetting actually beneficial to people believe in it? I know that some of the major freight forwarders have said that they won't accept carbon offsetting because it doesn't tick the boxes of their customers. So, as I said, on the sustainability front, it's there. It will be a challenge, but we're not ready to answer that question.
Okay. And I wanted to ask you that, as a company which is now slowly spreading its wings, what would you say about the human component of air cargo? Skilling is important, retaining people in the workforce.
For sure.
So what are you doing in your company in terms of strategy?
We've been very, very lucky at Magma that we only have one kind of department or area of our business where we have kind of any real turnover in headcount, and that's in our ops team, because for a long time we focused on employing people that wanted to be pilots. We still have employee number 1. She's still there, 13, so she joined a year before me, or 6 months before me. She is still employed to this day. We're always looking at, better work-life balance, benefits, packages and everything else. We have a lovely office environment. We built in a office building in 2021, which is fantastic. Everyone's happy there. We just go with the flow.
So do you see these recent economic trends affecting let's say, the supply chain of automotive, semiconductor? Because it's already happening, right? We've seen that in the past. How do you see these trends?
The semiconductor one is, whilst it was negative for people like BMW, Porsche, the manufacturers, it then actually had a really positive effect for the second-hand car trade. And, there was a shift in power, as it were, for a little period of time. As I said to you earlier, air freight industry, global economic symbiotic, to actually try and get that to symbiote is the tough thing. One thing fails, someone else is benefiting. It's like Magma. When Magma started, we were lucky. We were outside of the volcanic ash cloud, and we could keep flying when no one else could. But then there have been times where we've won charter business that we've had to give up because we've got AOG. It swings and roundabouts.
And going forward, what is strategy for your company going forward for growth? What are areas that you're focusing on?
So Commercially, we've expanded. We have a new head of commercial, a guy called James Gilliard, who was joined the company in January. He's ex-Etihad, Cathay Pacific and IAG. Growth in that team, stability, and we will focus on verticals at some point. It's just reviewing our business model. As I said, we're an agile company. We don't want to change our business model unless we really have to. It takes away that agility. But at some point, maybe we will grow to the size where we have to. It's strategically more of the same. That's all I will say.
Right. And what would be the sort of trade lanes that you would be looking at? What areas of...
I think we will continue our focus where we are now, so globally. We're not the kind of company where we're just going to go and jump into another legacy lane unless we have some business there. It's just not our business models. It will be more of the same.
Thank you, Tom.
No worries at all.
Conversation.
Thank you very much.